start with a welcome note, ma'am.
Okay.
Please give me a chance to speak. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Good evening, dear educators. As we know that Central Sahodaya Conclave Kottayam and the Council of CBSE Schools of Kerala jointly organizing webinar series for CBSE fraternity. All the stakeholders of CBSE segment, students, teachers, educators, principals, and all the administrators, everyone. Today, we are with a new topic. The topic is resilience in students. As we know that how to handle difficulty or how to handle the difficult situation, or how to handle problem solving skills, or how to handle the stress management, or different stress, different difficulties, the problem, different problems, the skill or ability to handle difficult situation. That is the purpose of today's sessions, the topic of today's sessions, the theme of today's sessions. We all need such kind of ability as we are educators to in a daily routine. We are facing multiple difficult situations, sensitive situations, and highly emotional situation to handle. So hopefully, we believe that this is a wonderful one and effective and fruitful one from an energetic and vibrant trainer, Srimati Binu K. Raj, Principal Sri Satyasai School, Trishur, and certified CBSE resource person for many different area or different subjects. On behalf of Central Sahodaya Conclave Kottayam and CCSK Kerala, and all the participants assembled over here, let me welcome Binu ma'am to the session. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful
One more word, and as we know that Central Sahodaya Conclave is our team leaders and patrons. Our energetic team consists of our beloved president of Sahodaya, Srimati Marina Sebastian, Principal Life Valley Public School, Puduppally, Kottayam, and our beloved secretary, Srimati Vinitha G. Nair, Principal Alfin Public School, Kottayam, and our beloved treasurer, Mr. M. Neelakandan, manager, Sri Shankara Vidyalaya, Vaikam, Kottayam. These are the three pillars and all the executive members of the Sahodaya. On behalf of all the participants assembled over here, let me welcome our vibrant team leaders to the session. And our technical team. As we know that Insight is the service provider for the CBSE schools or all the schools of the nation, and internationally they are providing the services for the teachers assessment, holistics progress card, and different ERP softwares and different ERP services. Representing Insight today be with us the managing director of Insight, Mr. Shuhaib, and the chief operating officer of the Insight, Mr. Sachin. And let me welcome Shuhaib and Sachin to the session.
Thank you, Ranjit sir.
Thank you, sir.
Fine. And dear participants, we are providing e-certificate for each and every participants for all the sessions. And as we know that Central Sahodaya Conclave is a registered Sahodaya, this certificate is valid for your 50 hours training. For the e-certification, we are charging rupees 100 for the office purposes and for the processing purposes. During the session, we are providing e-certification link through the chat box. Kindly fill the e-certification link, and you will get the certificate within the 3 or 4 working days. Because every day Central Sahodaya Conclave is conducting webinar series, so processing e-certificate was also a task for us. So please patiently wait for 3 or 4 working days for the certificate. I am getting multiple messages every day, sir, my certificate is pending, my certificate is pending. It's my request from my end also. You may patiently wait for 3 or 4 days. You will get your e-certificate within that short period. Dear participants, during the session, you can feel to interact with the resource person through the chat box. And at the end of the session, we are offering a question answer session also. So over to Binu ma'am. All the best for the outstanding, yet another outstanding session. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much for that wonderful words, Ranjit sir, and pranams to your entire core team. Okay, you are the Sahodaya members and your technical team. For everyone, my pranams. Okay, you all are doing a wonderful job indeed. Thank you so much. And now let us start with our session. Actually, the topic is developing resilience in students. Okay, it will help to enhance the resilient capacity of yourselves also, but we are focusing more on students. Before I go to the PPT, please tell me, what are the stress factors the children will be having in their everyday life? Through what all stress factors or through what all stressors a child has to, or the child is exposed? Can you please put in the chat box? Ranjit sir is singing it. Okay. Oh, I can hear somebody singing song and all.
Multiple times I muted. Again, I don't know how it unmuted.
Okay, sir.
The participant side, I heard a song that I muted the participant. Again and again, he unmuted and singing a song. Shall we give a chance?
We will give him a chance at the end of the session. Let me type. My chat box is going in a very fast pace. Okay. It is exams, the class performance, writing, exam, inability to concentrate, control their emotions, growing up to parents' expectations, distractors, parental pressure, lack of social behavior, fear of public speaking. So, my dear team, now could you please tell me what all emotions, through what all emotions a child usually goes through? Exams. So, what will be the emotion of the child? If it's fear, that's great. Depression, fear. Then lack of self-discipline, that's good. Again, fear, anxiety, anger, good. Confidence, oh yeah, that's something good. Lack of confidence, frustration. So the child who is sitting in front of you, he is going through this much of emotions almost every day. So now let us see what we can do to help them. Okay. I'm going to share my presentation. Now we are into, can you see? If somebody could unmute and tell, if my screen is, yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Give me 5 minutes. Okay. Developing resilience in students. Now, imagine that you all are going for a river raft. You are going for an adventurous river raft, and your map shows that apart from the slow water and shallows, you have to encounter with rapid twists and turns. My question to you is, what are the precautions or what are the measurements you will be taking to complete this adventurous river journey? Again, in the chat box, please, or you can mute and unmute and talk, no problem. What are the preparations you will be taking before you go for a river raft? Please. The chat box is active. So number one, I could see safety jackets and wearing safety gadgets, life jacket, safety jackets again. Inability to concentrate in studies, control, these are the things. Wear life jackets, yeah. So I could say that majority of the participants, you have given the right answer that you need life jackets. So number one will be that you will be having extra life jackets or good life jackets. Number two, you may be asking the help of the people who had already completed the journey. Isn't it? We'll be talking with an experienced one. Number three, we might be even adding them into your group. Some experienced people should be there in your group. And otherwise, what you can do is that you will be having lots of discussions before coming to and before doing such a river raft. So one thing is sure, with the right support system in your hand, you are going to face this particular challenge. But life will not come with a map. This you were sure because the map was telling you that you have to face rapid twists and turns, but the life will not come with a map. You cannot always have a feeling that you will have a cakewalk in your life, isn't it? Life is not going to be a cakewalk. So what you have to do is that you should expect that you will have to face certain situations, which somebody's mic is on. Please, can you mute it? So one thing is sure, at one point or another, we all, you and me, have to face certain situations which can create lots of adverse or otherwise lots of traumas in our life. So resilience is the ability to bounce back, the ability to be happy and successful, even if we are having very difficult situations. Now, let us see, when the American Psychological Association, they had told that resilience is a personal journey. Now, if I ask you a question, there are certain misconceptions about stress, isn't it? Tell me, what do you mean by stress? What is stress, actually? In the chat box, or otherwise you can unmute and you can talk.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, madam.
Can you hear me?
It's so much.
Yeah,
Voice is
according to me, it is something which is difficult to face. Difficult to face when we feel difficult to face something, we feel.
So stress is something which creates. Can I make it simple, madam? If I say that stress is something which creates distress, do you agree?
Yeah, that's
something which creates distress, isn't it? So the pressure or tension when things are not going according to. Somebody is creating disturbance, I think. Okay. I think the people, the technical team will be taking care of that. Please mute those who are creating any sort of disturbance. Okay. Something that causes physical changes or emotional changes, the pressure or tension when the things are not going accordingly what we wish. That's true. So if I ask you one more question, is stress bad? Do you mean that stress is bad or good? Stress is the stress. The stress, is it good or bad? Is all stress bad? Good.
No, ma'am.
Isn't it? You are here because every time, every minute, we are in some sort of stress, isn't it? I'm here. I know that I have to come and I have to do a session. I have to attend. I have to enter into the platform by 7 o'clock. You all are here. You have kept your work aside. You are contributing 1 hour or 1.5 hours for learning. That itself is creating some sort of stress. So all stress is not bad. Stress is good also. So the stress which creates some sort of difficulty mentally and physically, emotionally, that stress is called distress, isn't it? The stress which hampers the mental state of a person, that's distress. Whereas the stress which gives some sort of positivity, there is positive stress, and that is called eustress. Okay, to some extent it is good. That's great. Very good. So dealing with stress or understanding the resilience, when you understand resiliency, you should understand one thing is that it is a personal journey. and it can be unique for each person. So when Rolf Palomar was a senior executive of the American Psychological Association, when he went to his school, and he's a policy maker in schools. Okay, so when he visited a school as a part of his research, he asked questions to some children of class 3, that what are the things which create setbacks in them, or which is the most difficult situations for them. So a third standard girl, she told that it is when her friend is at you, that is the biggest problem for her. And a fourth standard boy, he told that the slip examination, slip test which is there in the school, that is the biggest problem for him. So what you have to understand is that we cannot be judgmental when we deal with resiliency, or when we deal with the stressors of each and everybody's life, because my stressor and your stressor will be different. Can you please put in your chat box, if you don't mind, to say what is your major stressor? Can anyone tell? You can put in which is the major stress. See, when I asked this question in a meeting, somebody was telling CBSE. CBSE is the stressor for them. So there will be different, we all will be having our own stressors, isn't it? To finish the multiple tasks, to meet a deadline, great. Shalini ma'am is here and she's telling it is the time management problem what is always giving. Managing the monthly budget to face certain challenges. Yeah, see, what you can understand is that not even a single thing is repeating. Most of them are having their own stressors. It is restlessness. It is otherwise it is a deadline what the principal is giving. Otherwise it is a financial crisis what we are having, right? So the stressors are always different. Here I'm getting a little bit stuck with the PPT. That's why I'm okay. Thank you so much. So let us go into more about resiliency with some good quotes of Nelson Mandela. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. It is quite natural, and it is quite natural that we may fall. It's not that we will be having every time we'll be having whatever we are wishing for will be coming to us and we'll be having a very happy life. No, there will be different stressors around us. But the thing is that understanding that, analyzing it, and moving forward is very important. I would like you all to have some insight on this particular art form called Kinsugi. This is a Japanese art which was prevailing in Japan 400 years before itself. And see, when a pot is broken, instead of throwing that out, what they do is that they use gold as adhesive to mend that broken pieces together. So what happens? So when more the amount of gold, more the value of that particular pot. Such a wonderful idea, isn't it? Something which would have thrown out. They use the best thing. They use the most valuable thing to mend it together. So when we take this particular art form as a metaphor for healing ourselves, what does this teach us? What does this particular art form teaches us? Can you put your perception? Somebody is asking for e-certificate right now. So what is it teaching us is that when during the process of repairing the things, when we repair the things, sometimes we may come with a beautiful, more resilient product. So Kinsugi teaches us when we care, when we honor, and when we treat something, when we with respect, and we give care for that thing, it will come out. What I can say is that will be a more precious, more wonderful product than what it was before. Such a wonderful art form, isn't it? When I was going, this is the best I like about resiliency. So resiliency means when you turn your wounds into gold. That is what this art form teaches us. I am getting stuck with my PPT. Okay, yeah. Now let us see. Patterson has coined a theory called quotient theory. What is this quotient theory actually? Quotient theory means, suppose a child shows a misbehavior. Well, see, during the childhood days, the parent and the child is mutually reinforced actually. The child's misbehavior reinforces the parent to show some sort of threatening behavior, or shouting or spanking, or what I can say is beating the child, creating coercion. Coercion means an atmosphere of threat, right? So exactly what happens after that? During that particular time, when a child is small, or during his childhood age, he may obey his parent. But afterwards, if this is going on, the child will be such, he will be reacting in such a way that this forms a cycle. The child gets into connection or gets deviated, and may have association with deviant peers, will be problematic, will start to react, and the parent has to face all the problems. So never go for such sort of thing. Shouting and spanking or having this caution pattern is not going to help us. Now, in a child, we have to understand what are the risk factors before inculcating the resiliency or resilient factor in a child. You should understand what are the risk factors and what are the protective factors. What can be the risk factors of the child? The little things that can irritate or distress people, that is called the risk factors. What all can be the risk factors of a child? Even broken ones can be much more vivid. That's good. What can be the risk factors for a child? The most, I can say the paradoxical situation is that the risk factor itself is the protective factor of a child. So the risk factor in which all domains, on which all areas can there be risk for a child? Can I get some insights in the chat box, please? Can I get some? Can you please put in your chat box, what are the risk factors? What can be the risk factors for a child? See, the family, domestic violence, then what else? Use of mobile, that's great, sir. Use of mobile, then only if you are active, the session is going to be good. Social media, then abuse, peer group, sensitivity to unhappy situations, peer pressure, approach of parents. That's good. Okay, thank you so much for that. So the risk factors are the small little things which can irritate or distress the people. So what you have to understand is that it need not be a domestic violence. It can be some small, see, suppose when you are changing the divisions, it can happen in your classroom, isn't it? Every year we change the divisions of the child. And every year we can see the parents coming and asking, the child is so unhappy. The child is sitting and crying. Her friends was at in other class. So what is the usual reaction? What you all will be having? What will be our reaction when we hear such things? What is your reaction? You will say that, what is the problem? Let them be friends with all. Let them learn in that particular class this year. But my dear teachers, let me ask you one thing. Is it fair? See, when you understand as an educator, there are this sort of small things can affect a child in a very bad way. So there are some certain positivity in what you are thinking. I'm quite sure. But in the aspect of resilience, you should understand that whatever is creating distress to a child is going to be a hindrance on the resilient factor. Okay. Develop effective programs to overcome the risk factors, enhance the protective factors that promote resiliency. Now let us see what can be the protective factors also. So when we go for the definition of at risk, the risk factor means when the child is getting disabled, when the child is having any sort of medical situations in which he is challenged, or otherwise we can say that when a student is denied of certain opportunities, denied of certain resources, we can say that the child is at risk. So what are the different domains the child is at risk? It can be the individual area, the family, the school, and the community. Now, before going into the different domains in a descriptive way, in the descriptions, let me go read something which is good. The 1995, when Bernard, he had in his research paper had told that half to two-thirds of the children growing up in families with mentally ill, alcoholic, abusive, or criminally involved parents, or in poverty-stricken families do overcome the odds and turn a life trajectory of risk into one that manifests resilience. What do you understand from this? A child has got the innate capacity to bounce back from any sort of adverse situations what he or she is facing. We haven't learned to walk and talk because somebody has taught us. We acquisited it. Similarly, every child, every individual have that capacity to bounce back from any sort of traumatic situations he or she faces in their life. But how? That is very important. When we are having, when a child is having effective communication skill, when a child is having the adaptability nature, perseverance, flexibility, having self-control, good health, all these things will help a child to, just 1 minute, give me 1 minute, okay? Okay. So when the child is having a sense of honor, a humor, that means the child should be able to take it in a very lighter note. Okay, when we are inculcating the sense of humor, when the child is having the linguistic capacity to communicate, the child is having that adaptability nature, self-control. What do we mean by self-control? Self-awareness, regulating their own emotions, being physically fit is very important. Having social competency, that means social cohesion is very, very important in when we say about resilience. Okay, so resilience, what you have to understand, is not at all a fixed trait. Resilience means if we are, so to develop the resilient factor, when we are able to change our thoughts and the perceptions and behaviors, we can enhance the resilience skill of each and every child. Dr. Sood, who is a member of the Wellness Advisory Board, what he had told is that resilience he had defined in life skills, in life skill principles. That is, gratitude. Resilience is nothing but forgiveness, meaning, compassion, gratitude, and acceptance. So what we have to, as a teacher, what we have to see is that we have to enhance these skills in the child. So how we are going to enhance good health in the children? How we are going to create self-control in your children? That is important. Let's discuss on that. Let's discuss on that. Can you unmute your mic and talk? I can hear, see so
yes,
many.
ma'am.
Yeah, please, please. So what are the activities you can give to create the awareness of good health? Come on, please. Say one activity which you can give in your school, so that the child understand that being physically fit is more important. When you are physically fit, only you can be mentally fit, right? So how is the health and what all health and wellness programs you can bring into your campus? One example.
We can make them do yoga.
You can, yoga can be a practice. That's good. That's good. Similarly, any other inputs I will get, please.
Physical fitness exercises.
Fitness classes can be given. isn't it? The need of physical fitness. Yeah.
Every day walking. They can do some dances, aerobics, Zumba like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you should make the child understand that being physically fit is very important. Now, what do we mean by self-control? Having self-control over the emotions. How can we
You want
teach
to
it?
eat something and something very much junk food, but
You can give
you
a
have to control
situational
yourself so
studies.
that you know that it's not healthy.
You can give situational studies. Let me give you a situation here right now. Malavika feels that, Malavika believes that she is a good dancer. Okay. But unfortunately, she was not selected for the dance or for the annual day. She got disappointed. I'm underlining the term. She got disappointed. She went back to her class. Her close friend, her best friend asked her what was the problem. Why is she moody? She quarreled with her friend. She went back to her home. She was so moody. And when her little sister came to her and asked her to come out for a play, she slapped her. Now answer me, what happened to Malavika after the emotion disappointed? Through what all emotions she went through? Through what all emotions she went through? She got disappointed. Then what did she do? She got frustrated. Yeah. Severe depression. She didn't have severe depression at that particular point of time, because it's all happened on one day itself. Depression is something different. Okay, depression has got a greater meaning. This is frustration, anxiety, loss of control. Good. So she got disappointed. After that, she became angry. She could have talked to her best friend. She came and asked her what was the problem. She was not ready to share. Again, she went home and she was quarreling with her sister, and she even lost the complete control and physically abused her sister. So this all happened on what? On a perception, on a thought that I am a good dancer, I will be selected for this. She was not self-aware of her weakness, or otherwise she was not ready to accept her weakness. Moreover, she was having a misconception that she's a very good dancer, so that she can perform in a big stage. So there comes the problem. So having self-control. So how can we create self-control in the children? Giving situational studies like this. Create situations like this where the child can go through different emotions and talk to them. Okay. Adaptability and flexibility, perseverance and temperament, how to regulate their temperament. All these are very important. Plan activities for that. Have what we can, lots of collaborative activities we have to plan for that, and practice it in your school, which will help the child have a social cohesion. Now let us see what can happen in the family domain. In a family, positive parent-child relationship should happen. You should treat each child with respect and love. So there will be parents who are coming to you and complaining about their children. Usually who is always talking bad about their children. Lots of negatives. I have a parent today. Today a parent came and he was asking me to beat the child. Why you are not giving punishment to the child? You beat him or you give him punishment. He is not studying. So the child is good, actually. The child is good. The only thing is that he's not getting proper motivation from his house. So what you have to understand is that every child is an individual. They are not slaves. They are individuals. We have to treat them with love, respect, and care. So such sort of parenting, as a parent, you all are parents also, isn't it? So these should happen in each and every family. So lots of what I can say is the responsibility should be shared. Family advocacy is the only point here I would like to discuss. What do we mean by family advocacy? That means advocates in own family. So one family member is somebody, a senior member, you can have him as a counselor or something. For that, you should have good rapport with all the family members, isn't it? You should have functions like that. Even all the members of the family should have connections. Now we are in a nuclear family. We don't have that joint family system right now. But knowingly, if you are creating such sort of family advocates, it will help you when we are in any sort of crisis. So those senior members should be able to give us guidance when we are in any sort of problems. Now the next domain is a school. A good school can act instead of a family. So if a child is having problem in a family, no problem. If the school is having all the resilient factors in it, it is going to help the child. So how can you help them in the school? Provide a positive and safe learning environment. Don't create an atmosphere of threat or anchor-free zone. CBSE says, have anger-free zone environment in your school so that the child can be safe. Now, I would like to ask you, what do you mean by safety of a child? What do we mean by safety? Chat box, please. What do we mean by safety? I'm not audible. I cannot see any messages in the chat box. What is the safety of a child? Is it physical safety only? Safety means the child should be physically, mentally, emotionally safe. Okay, only when the child is emotionally safe, the child, physical and mental comfort of the child is a safety. So you have to create such atmosphere. There should be an atmosphere where it should be candid, it should be flexible, it should be friendly, so that the child can have an open communication when he or she feels any sort of distress. Teach them life skills. I can challenge. You go to your class tomorrow, you ask the child, all the children of your class, you ask them to prepare a timetable and just check how many of them will be able to prepare an effective timetable. Ask them to plan what they want to do in future. You will understand most of the children, even the gifted one, have problems in prioritizing the things. So you have to teach them to systematize, to sweep out what is not important, to sort out what is important, and to structure it accordingly. So teaching the life skills, making them understand what is exactly important. So we have to divide it into 4 domains, actually, the most important thing, isn't it? The urgent and important tasks. The next one is teach your children what are the urgent and important tasks. The next quadrant comes the urgent but not important. That means what the child has to give, or whom you are interacting with, you have to give the more importance to your personal goals. Okay, so urgent, it's not urgent, but it is very important. To take a PhD, it's not urgent, but it is very important. Maybe for a person who is aspiring for that, or to attend a session, or to go for any sort of learning process, whatever is happening, to attend the meetings like that. It is may not be urgent. This is not an urgent one. You are here, why? Because you know that it is important, right? So urgent, not urgent, important means it is for your personal achievement, but it is not urgent. Now the next quadrant is not urgent, not important means the last one, just move it aside and keep. And the other one is, it is not important, but it is very urgent. That means suppose you want to get the building fitness certificate. It is very urgent. Maybe as a teacher, you may not feel much importance for that. but you may be allotted duty to go through the authority and to talk to these things and all. Okay, so it is very urgent from the school side. So you have to make the child also plan the things accordingly. So what are the 4 quadrants? One is urgent and important, urgent, not important, then not urgent, but very important, not urgent, not important, which the child can, or you can just keep it, throw it away from your priority list. Set clear boundaries, clear assignments, clear boundaries of what to do, what not to do. Okay. High yet achievable expectations. See, somebody was telling the stressor of a child, the stressors may be the expectations what you are putting on a child. So suppose there are 2 children in your class. What I can say, Abhiram and Anita is there. Abhiram is good in English. He used to score 90% above marks in English, but he used to get only 50% marks in maths. The other girl used to get 90% in English and 90% in maths and 50% in English. You are calling both the children, telling that you are going to write the board exam. I have high expectations on you both. You should get 90% marks in all the subjects. Both are into stress. So when you are expecting something, it should be achievable. Otherwise, the child will find it. The child will be under what I can say is a stressful situation. See, expectations should always be flexible. You should be flexible in giving the inputs. You should be flexible as a teacher in expecting the outcomes. You should be flexible in the strategies what you are using. Okay. Provide respect and support while facilitating academic and social success. See, acknowledge the people. Facilitate the people. If somebody comes with some sort of achievements, acknowledge them, praise them. So it is being told that when we praise in the public and criticize in the private, so that you should always have that sort of reciprocity is a term which we use in relationship. That is very important to maintain a relationship because it means exchange of the privileges. I am an aspiring person. You should understand that somebody working with you, the student in front of you or your friend, they are also aspirants of different things. So once when we start appreciating, acknowledging their accolades, that is going to create a sort of self-confidence, optimism in the mindset of the listener. Provide for meaningful participation. How can you give chances for participation? Create situations like that where the children, for example, in a classroom, you can create class bulletin board. You can have lots of art integration activities, or otherwise you can have role plays. Lots of programs you can have where the children can come together. See, when you are working, you should see that you're working in 4 domains. Okay, domain in the classroom, in the campus, in the corridor, and in the community. So create atmosphere or create programs where the child can collaborate and work in all these 4 areas. Where classroom, you can give bulletin boards or otherwise role plays. The community, how can they have a social cohesion with the community? Create community programs, volunteer programs like that. Okay, and how can they have some sort of social interactions in the corridors? Again, the corridor bulletin boards or otherwise the lots of what you can put an area, a board or a place where the children can come and put their thoughts. Library, you can have such an area, okay, where the child can put simply come, not only the reviews of the books, but to share their emotions. Let there be a corner in your school where the children and the teachers can come and share their emotions. Put it, scribble something and put. Okay, wouldn't that be good? Can I get a feedback, please? Is there any school who is following such sort of good practices? Thank you so much for that. Okay. Yeah. In between, the problem, my slide sometimes is getting stuck today. Let's say, little bit of problem I am facing. So here, let us see what are the programs we can do for the community. Yeah, and, collaborating with the community. See, volunteer activities is very important. Volunteers are sometimes called as key interlocutors in any sort of crisis. When flood happened, when flood came, what happened actually? When see COVID, when there was COVID, who are there? Even some of the very close relatives were who had happened to who have dead. See, the funeral was conducted in some organizations conducted during the first phase of COVID. What happened during the flood time? Even my parents, when during the flood, see, over here there was lots of water in front of my house. I had to send them with send my parents, aged parents, with the volunteers. I even did not know who were there. They took my parents to the nearby refugee area center which we were having here. So always volunteers have what I can say is that lots of role when any sort of crisis happens. So volunteer activities is very important. Create employment opportunities for children. See, if you feel that there are children who are having some sort of challenges, if they are not mentally capable or some sort of mental illness is there, mental challenge problems are there. How can the school help them? Create employment opportunities for those children. I would like to hear point about Govidath Muthukad. He is having a association or a center called Different Arts Center, Magic Academy, where the mentally retarded children are there. He is not simply having empathy and sympathizing the children, giving them food or treating them with respect. And it's not only that what he's doing. He is giving them a small stipend for the work what they are doing. So valuing that person, giving them some sort of what I can say to lead a life, to help them, that is very important. If the educators cannot do that, who else can do? If a school cannot do that, who else can do? And now even the government is also have made it very compulsory that in almost every aided schools, the total from the total population, 3% should be given for the retarded or disabled people. So even the government is also very much giving employment opportunities for them. But we have to advocate these sort of things as educators. In the school itself, what is the school going to go into a crisis or going into a loss situation if one child, one person who is disabled or is having any sort of challenges is being appointed there? Nothing is going to happen. But we are doing a great, what I can say, a favor, or we are being a role model when we do such things. Okay. And I have heard someone one time, a principal told me that there is a hotel in Calicut where they keep only deaf and dumb people for as waiters in the reception and all. So they are trying to give opportunities, employment for all these people who are struggling in the society. This is what is actually, what do we mean by equity? This is equity actually, when we treat all these people with respect and care. Okay, so as educators, teachers, you can use this activity, buddy program. Buddy program means if you feel that a child is having any sort of traumas, or how can you understand a child is having distress? I forgot to ask that. How can you understand a child is having any sort of distress? See, suppose if a child, can you give me true or false answer only? Can you analyze a person? Can you analyze a child from his behavior? Always that he is having any sort of stress. That is my question. Is the stress symptoms always visible? Is the stress symptom always visible? No. No. The stress symptom is not always visible. I can tell you what happened in my school today. A man walked into my school. He has told me that he is the father of the 2 children who are studying in class 1 and class 4. He told me that he is going tomorrow to Gulf. Okay, he's going to Middle East. He's going to his, he could not, he want to meet his children, and he want to discuss with me the academic areas of the child. And he asked that he want to call the children to the principal room. I called. I didn't know any what are the problems what the children are having. But once the children saw him, they ran away. They told no, no, and they ran away. Then I understood some problem is there. But from the behavior of the children, behavior of that mother, I never understood that they had such problems. When they came for admission, I never, last week, 2 days before itself, the mother was there. The children was there. They were for some problems. But when they saw that their father, their own father, the children, they turned back and they ran. So I felt ashamed actually. Being a resource person of resilience, or what I can boast of, I was not able to understand that my children are having lots of problems at home. We can never ever understand. But so there are children who will show symptoms also. There are children who will show symptoms. For those children, it's very easy to analyze those children. It's very easy to come out with a strategy for that children. But for the children whose symptoms are not what we can visible, we find it very difficult to understand them, to communicate to them, to sort a strategy for them. And the best method is to have a buddy for them. Buddy means it's a mentor child, a child who is in a senior class. But you should see that the mentor child whom you are giving have that responsibility, have that is trustful, have that accountability, understand that operating agreement of what your objective is. These things are very important. So what is the benefit of this? The child who cannot communicate, or who feels some sort of mental block to communicate with the teacher or to communicate with the principal, will surely will share his or her problem with the buddy child. Try this. Okay. Don't say that my school, nobody is having that problem. Everybody. So Preeti ma'am wants to share with me anything. I think raised hand. Do you want to share with me anything? Do you want to talk on anything on this? So this is such a good program which you can have in your classroom or in your school. You can discuss with your principal and you can have it. But there can be negative things can happen also. Okay, negative things can happen also. If the mentor child whom you are giving is not responsible, can mislead them also. That too, even for me, from my experience, I can tell this is, you should be very cautious when you give a buddy child. Okay. So let us see what the research paper of Bernard in 1995, what it says. The research validates that, I have already told that everybody, we all are born with an innate capacity for resilience, by which we are able to develop the responsive qualities that foster resilience. So this is what I would like to underline again and again. Resiliency is not a fixed trait. Once we use some strategies for enhancing the skills of the child to develop the resilient factors, then surely we will be able to improve the child. Now let us see what are the most important areas where we have to work. What are the protective factors? Protective factors means risk factor is what the child is vulnerable to. Protective factor means what protects the child, what shields the child from such sort of entities which the child is vulnerable to. So again, it is the caring relationship. Where will the child get that caring relationship? Which all areas the child will get that? Can you please, chat box is active. Which all areas the child will be getting this caring relationship? From the teacher, first and foremost from the teacher, not from home, because home is where we cannot assure, but you can assure that you can be a teacher who cares for for your children, right? So let us take a promise that I will have sincere interest in every child. So when you talk about relationship, I can tell you one thing: we all should have at least one person in your life whom you can share everything, everything. It need not be your husband. It not need not be your mother. It can be a fellow teacher. It can be somebody, some who your friend. Okay, but there should be someone. What happens is that when we get aged, when we go into more and more responsible areas of work, what lacks is that friendship is the area where we struggle. Because I can understand that when I was a teacher, I was having more friends. When I became principal, my friendship area became very, what I can say, it became very minimal. Members are only there, as I can say, my friends. So that happens, but the number, the quantity is not important. Quality is important. The quality of the person whom you interact with, the quality of the person whom you are going to share the things with, that is very important. Always see that they are trustworthy, they are having, they are person with integrity. So when you are a person, when you have a friend with integrity, your 90% of your problems are solved. Because what all happens in your life, what all adverse situations happen in your life, what all traumatic events you go through, you will have at least one person who will be taking care of your emotions. Okay, high expectations. See, this is controversy of the risk factor and the protective factor. See, I have told that expectation can be a risk factor, and now I am telling that expectation is going to be a protective factor. Oh, how? High expectations. So what do you feel when you see that particular word, high expectations? Can I hear some voices instead of the chat box? Shalini ma'am, I would like to hear from you.
Good
How
evening,
can
ma'am.
this be a protective factor?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Yeah, please.
Sometimes when we give them challenges, especially gifted children, if you want them to really come out of their shell, if you want them to give their best, it's always good to have expectations.
Yeah. So you say that expectations are good.
Sometimes.
So expectations, when you keep underline that, it should be attainable for the child, and it
Yes.
should be having some realistic factor should be there. It should be attainable. It should be having some sort of time also should be there, which
Correct.
a child can attain in a particular stipulated time.
Right.
So expectations are always good. See, call a child and telling that, I know that you are a good boy, you are disciplined, you will be well mannered. So today what happened, I can tell from my experience, my son usually, sometimes he quarrels with me, but my dancer came today and asked me, Madam, doesn't he, will he argue with you, or will he quarrel with you, or will he give back answer to you? My child always do that. I told him, no, he never does that, because my child is sitting with him. My son was sitting with him. I told that, no, he will never do that. He's such a good boy. He's such a good boy. He loves his mother. He will never back answers. He's such a good boy. And I asked him, isn't it right? Then he was saying, yeah, it's true. So created an expectation that he is having a feeling, my mother, he is having high expectations on me. So unknowingly, the child will be modulating his behavior accordingly. Understand one thing, with punishments, with giving lots of what we can sarcastically talking to the child, you are not going to create a desirable outcome. You should have the patience and the perseverance and the tolerance level to bring back the child if he is showing any sort of behavioral issue. That's what a teacher is. Okay. George, sir, want to talk anything about this? I could say here somebody had unmuted. George Joseph, sir. Sir, you want to talk anything on this? Okay. So opportunities for participating. Create lots of programs in your school so that there are ample of opportunities for the children to participate. Now see, as a teacher, what do you have to see? As a teacher, the most frequently encountered by the student, you should convey the message of, what I can say is that, compassion, empathy. Okay, you should be the person who is truly trustworthy. Have sincere interest in each and every child. Respect your child, understand them, and create lots of activities where there is, where the children can celebrate traditions. That doesn't mean that we have to go into a mode of religious celebrations. I didn't mean that. It is secular tone itself. You can make them understand the culture. Knowing India is very important. As a NEP says, the children should be taught what is India. So teach them what are our traditions. It can be any sort of programs. It need not be, see now school, we used to celebrate Navaratri, we used to celebrate Christmas, we used to celebrate the Ramzan, we used to what I can cook vegetable biryanis, and or we used to celebrate Onam. We used to celebrate all the national festivals and sometimes birthdays of the national leaders. All the important days, all the important celebrations should be, what I can say is that, part of your academic calendar. Provide one-on-one time. So always, if you want to create equity, you should follow the motto of all small one. That means you should teach all the children, no doubt. Then afterwards, you will understand that one or two child is having a problem. It happens in the academic area, it happens in the behavioral area. You will be teaching the norms to all the children. But you understand that a small group is having behavioral issues, right? So you will have to find out a strategy for them. Then again, watch the children, monitor the children. You will understand that one child again is showing some sort of behavioral issues. Then go to that child, counsel them, understand what is the problem. So your strategy should be that of whole or all, small, and then one. So high expectations means, how can you create high expectations? And if you want to create high expectation, what are the things you should know? The first and important thing is that you should know what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of the child. Okay, what are the experiences the child is going through? This is what I told. I didn't know the domestic issues, what was happening in the child. So try to intrude into the life of each child. We have to understand, poke your nose into the child's life. Then only you will understand what are the exact problems the child is facing. Okay, what are their strengths? What are their weakness? What are the experiences they are having? What are their aptitude? What is their aptitude? What are their interests? Have necessary materials for success means you should have the proper plan, the proper resources to give to your child. Okay, and create an atmosphere which is candid. That is very important, joyful. So that, see, when there is anchor, teaching, learning is not going to happen. The child will be having certain mental block. You are creating mental blocks there. The child will not be able to talk to you if they have any doubts. Okay, so eliminate that atmosphere of fear or threat. Now let us see what are the opportunities of participation area you can give. You can give them participation in the curriculum planning, in all the policies what we are creating. You can make them also participate. Create children, divide the children into group. Each group should participate in all the policies. Suppose you are creating an inclusive policy. For your classroom, you can create inclusive policies. For your own classroom, you can create your own classroom norms. I think if you will be having that practice in your school. We are having that. We will be having the classroom norms, classroom rules. So let the children be part of that. What the teacher writing the classroom norms and putting on the board or putting it on a sheet of paper is not enough. The children should sit and frame what is going to happen in their classroom. Okay. And cross-age tutoring and mentoring, I had already told about. It's nothing but giving a mentor child. So the senior children are coming to the junior classes and teaching the children. Hands-on learning activity should be there because it creates social cohesion. It creates mindfulness. Okay. And it creates what attention is also more when the child is doing some hands-on activity. So you see that instead of going into the rote learning, but I'm sure after the lots of experiential learning classes and all, no teacher will be going into the method of teaching what we are having, the education 1.0 method, where the children were into rote learning. Now we are into the journey of education 4.0, according to the Minnesota University, isn't it? So we are now in between education 3.0 and 4.0. So here we don't have the question. We don't have that question itself of rote learning. So have lots of hands-on, minds-on activities in your classroom. Now let's see what are the strategies we can, what are the resilience traits which we can build into the child, and what is the language of resilience. The most important thing is that build insightfulness in your children. What do you understand by building insightfulness? What is that actually? Insight on assessing their own work means understanding self-awareness, understanding their own strength, their own weakness, their own gray areas. Okay, what is my problem? Or what entities, what variables can create problems for me? How can I come out of that? Having that insight. For that, the only method what you can do is that you cannot take the children through experiences, right? You cannot say that the children have to go through experience and then find out and come out with a possible solution. No, what you can give is that give situations like this, what I told about Malavika. Give case studies to the children so that let them form groups and let them assess on that and let them come out with a possible solution. So when that happens in their life, they will be able to react in a better way. They will be able to come back, bounce back when any sort of traumatic events are happening in their life. Now, the second point is independence. Independence doesn't mean that we have to train the children to be self-centered or selfish. It means interdependence to be independent. Independent, I have written here just in one term, count on yourself. Count only on yourself sometimes, because there may not be others. When we are facing, we ourselves have to handle certain problems, but that doesn't mean that you have to be fixed or stuck enough that you will be handling your problems only by yourself. I didn't mean that. What I tell is that sometimes in certain situations, you can count only on yourself. So train your children to count on themselves, not on somebody else. So that also should be trained. But interdependence is necessary to be independent. Now, having good relationship. So to have the good relationship, there are certain life skills which we have to teach our children, or otherwise relationships are not going to work out. See, what happens is that now we don't have time to nurture a relationship. That's what is happening. All are self-centered. But when a problem comes, we want everybody to empathize us, but we haven't empathized anybody. So how can you expect that? So this is what I told. The term reciprocity is very important. Reciprocity is nothing but sharing. So we should teach the children to share and care. Now we are not in the world. Now this era, what I can say is that we should not focus on education. The future, you should not focus on education. It is educare. The children, apart from the education, they should learn to care, share, and empathize, because they are going into a world where the IQ is not being tested. Their SQ will be tested. How they are going to socialize with the people. Their EQ will be tested. How they are able to balance the situation. Okay, so they are going into their job opportunities are going in that phase, not with what we not looking into the certificates and checking whether 90% mark is there, 95% mark is there, whether we have added lots of tails to our name, nothing matters. What matters is that I remember the quotes of Sathya Sai Baba here. Swami has told, marks is not important, but remark is important. So that remark what you create in the mind of every individual is very important. So that is what gives us a healthy friendship or health, what will help us to maintain a relationship. Once you are able to maintain good relationships with people only, you will be able to inculcate that habit in the mindset of a child. I used to say that a person who doesn't have a personal victory, how you are going to create a public victory? You cannot tell something of your own. How can you then create something for the public? That is going to happen to each and every educator. If you are not having good relationship with your peers, with your fellow teacher, if there is something, other negative things are coming, or what I can is ruling you all, how can you inculcate values into the mind of your child? So value should be integrated. Value education should not stand at a different entity. It should be integrated into the curriculum what we are having, right? So for that, the teachers whom the previous slide, the child most encountered person should have all these characters. Create creativity in the child. How? The only thing to make a person creative is that to have them inculcate the factors, the traits of resiliency, to make them understand what is priority, to make them understand what is time, priority management, time management, and then the most important, the factors, the resilient, building up resilient factors in the child. So creativity comes in 21st century skills also. For that, as a teacher, what you can do is that create situations, case studies, and then bring the children, simulations you can do, act that particular situations what you have framed for them, and then bring out, let them talk about the solutions also for the different adverse situations. You create different adverse situations, and how will you react? How we are going to react when you have such problem. See, some mishaps happened in an accident happened to your friend. How will you react? What will be the first year you are going to do? Suppose you see your father and mother is quarreling there. How you are going to intervene? How we are going to help your mother or father? So some sort of situations for the children you have to frame according to their age. According to their age, discuss with them and bring out possible solutions from them itself. Okay. And initiative, I have asked them to take charge on different situations. For their responsibility, taking up responsibility is very important. I used to tell my teachers, your power is a responsibility is what you take. Once you are not given any sort of responsibility, you should understand that your power is decreasing there. So the children have to take up the responsibility, should have the, what I can say, the ability or the capacity to understand that if they make a mistake also, they have to take that responsibility also, instead of going for a blame game. Okay. So the children, so the most of the what I can say is that the suicide rate and all, it's increasing. Why? Because the children does not have this attitude of taking up the responsibility. If financial crisis, going up and killing themselves. If they are having love failure, going in, is it a solution? Is all those things are solutions? And it is happening, unfortunately, this is happening mostly in the educational areas, in the schools, in the colleges, in the educational institutions, I'm telling. Schools, colleges, in Mangalapuram, I heard a child who's doing a professional course, she committed suicide. For what? Somebody had, her lover had moved away from her life. So the child is not able to come back, bounce back from the setback what she was having. So what is the failure there? The failure, I will say, is with the educational system, because we were focusing on completing the syllabus. We never thought about the child. So after this session, The only key word, only the key element what you have in your mind should be have sincere interest in your child. When you have sincere interest in your child, you will be able to help them to develop holistically. Okay. Now, humor. So you may think that why madam is bringing humor here when you are talking about a very serious subject. How can a person facing any sort of trauma be humor? What I can have humor in their life. See, if you have heard about Stephen Hawking, he was a person who was paralyzed. He had written lots of novels, lot of articles. There are people who are disabled. And I remember a girl who is blind and she is a CEO of Jyotirmayi. Okay, she runs a mobile educational institution where she goes into the houses of people who are blind. Blind mobile, the blind school she's running. Okay, where she will be going into the houses of the people who are blind and teaching them. You should hear how she speaks. She speaks nearly 16 languages. So I was actually, when I heard an interview, she was telling me, and she was laughing and telling that when demonetization time and the new currency was introduced, the government did a big mistake, and she was laughing. So I was thinking, why this girl is talking about the government did a mistake, and she was telling me that now the government did not understand that there are blind people in the society, because we are now not able to understand 100 rupees note and 500 rupees note, because the length and the thickness, everything is the same. Usually they used to understand it from the thickness and the length and all. See, I was really shocked, because how lightly she is taking all these things. And so and the interviewer was asking her, you learned 16 languages because you are curious to learn language. No, she told her, no, nothing like that. I learned 16 languages because you can go to a shop and you can take a brinjal and you can show, and you can say that I need this, but I cannot do that. When I go to the other state, I have to talk in their own language if I want to buy something for my basic necessity. So there are people like that who have who have undergone through what I can say is that miserable traumatic events. Though the entire life they can cry on that, but they have bounced back. So here this particular session is only to understand what I can say, the traits of those people who have succeeded after such sort of miserable traumatic events or adversities in their life. So you have to teach how the children can come back when they have such situation. Now, how humor means we have to laugh at certain situations, isn't it? So at certain situations, we should be able to laugh. I would like to tell one more example of the girl called Swarna, who used to dance for D4 dance. She became paralyzed, isn't it? But still she is doing dance sitting on the wheelchair. My own personal experience, I used to sometimes laugh. My son, 50% is having mental retardation. Sitting and crying on that, will it help me? No, because we have to focus on the things which is under our control, and we have to learn to laugh at certain situations through which we have gone through. Okay, don't fuss on certain things. And morality is very important. See, why did I add this? You can come back on the cost of others. So when you come back, you should see that you have bounced back and you are standing on your feet with your feet itself. But you haven't grabbed the others' opportunities, or you have been used others in a very wrong way to come out of a difficult situation you are having. So morality, ethics, and values are very important, especially for an educator. Why? Because we are the people who inculcate these things to the children. So having ethics and morality, ethics, all these things are variable entities. My what I can say is that moral or my value system may not be your value system. It can be different. But as an educator, as a teacher, we should follow the universal value system, because it will help us to take the right decision at the right time in the right sequence. Okay. Now, what is the tool of resiliency? What is the tool of resiliency? Only these three, I can say, are the tools you should use for resiliency. What I am, what I have, and what I can. What I am is what are the strengths, what are the weakness, what are the internal resources I am having, what I am as a person, what I have, what are the external support system I am having, which will help me to walk in this particular journey. Okay. And what I can, what more I can. Okay. Where all I can get help. This I would like to underline. You should not be that have any sort of reluctancy to go and search or to find out the help from other people. But the only thing is that the most important quality what you need there is that of trustworthiness when you are helping others. Okay. Now, we cannot wind up without telling about mindfulness, right? What is mindfulness exactly? Mindfulness is nothing but self-awareness. So for every stimulus, there is a response, right? So when you put an A in between, when you're putting an A in between, the self-awareness in between, that is mindfulness. So mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we are doing, and not reacting, overreacting to a particular situation. Understanding what is happening right now. Okay. So my dear friends, when you are frustrated, when you feel that you are having any sort of distress, what you have to do is that stop. Stop means stop what you are doing. Take a mindful breath. Okay, concentrate on your breath. When you concentrate on your breath, just count 1 to 10. Count your breath backward again. Then just do it 2-3 times. Keep your mind calm, which will help you to be calm. Observe what you are doing and thinking. Just see what am I doing right now, and then proceed. So this self-awareness is very important. Every day in my assembly, my teachers will know. This is the only thing I will say. You can enjoy, you can do this. The only thing is that you should be self-aware. There is not a single day without telling this. Be self-aware of what you are doing. Once we have self-awareness, what I'm talking right now, what I'm doing right now, then you will be able to channelize the things in a better way. I would like to ask some questions. The first question is to you all. Now you are going to make the chat box active. Okay. Okay. Now, what are you interested right now? Tell me now what you are interested. I need the answers. Very sorry with my voice. Actually, I have wheezing. So evening I will have some problem of wheezing. What are you interested right now? Somebody will be writing, I am interested now to get the e-certificate. Are you interested for that right now? Is it what you are interested right now? I'm not able to see the chat box. Let me see. To help my students. Interested to respond to your questions. That is great. That is good. Because that is what I'm doing. You should be aware of what you are doing right now. That was the question. I'm interested to listen to you. That's great. That's simply superb. Okay. What am I interested in now? Okay. Now the next question. What am I doing to experience or learn after this? What you are going to do after this, after the session? To do some productive to students, that's good. Then how the productive? See, when you are talking as an educator, you should be concrete. apply what I learned now. What did you learn? What is the, see, at least we cannot apply everything what we are learning. See, this entire slide, just only maybe one single thing may come to our mind. Only that we will be able to apply. Maybe buddy program. Maybe it can be some sort of listening to the child. See, the most important thing, if you want to develop resilience, if you want to be a true counselor, if you want to develop resiliency to in your children, you should have one quality, that is listening. Okay, observe, listen, ask. It's called OLA. The therapy is called OLA. So all the teachers should have OLA OLA. What is that? Observe your child, listen to them, ask them. And if you feel any problem, ask them. And the child will do. And if one more you cannot add, the child will start talking to you. If you are a person of OLA, the child will start talking to, listen to others. Good. To prepare some questions for revision. That's great. Would like to have real interest in my children. Good, good. Okay. Thank you for that. So these are some powerful questions what I am giving to you all. Give to your children also. Okay. Yeah. When you do an activity, after an activity, this is called reflection. So did any of this particular strategy helped you today? How did it work? Did it work effectively? Can you say yes or no? Is there any strategy you can take? Yeah, yes. Yes, yes. Okay. So next question, what is my plan to keep moving ahead in future? This is for future. What is your future plan? What is your future plan? Can you put what is your aspiration? What do you want to become after 10 years or after 5 years? Suppose it is Madam Alfonsa Joseph here. What do Madam want to do after 10 years? To be a better teacher? I want to be a mentor, then I good mentor. Okay, great. You are already a good mentor, Madam. So you should say see, when you say you want to be a mentor, you should be millionaire, to be honest. That's good. That's good. So you have such some strategies for that, sir? To be a good teacher, good. Best in what I do. See, when you aspire, when you dream, it should be concrete. Okay, to be a good teacher, in what aspect? You are already a good teacher. So you want to be a good teacher in what area? So there will be some gray area which you feel that you are not good enough. Understanding that and then working on that and then coming out with an aspiration will help you out. Okay. Thank you so much for being good listeners here also, efficient teacher. So you have to understand life is like this. You are walking on a thread, but once you are not able to balance it properly, you will fall. So you have to balance it, and all the entities which we discussed, your physical fitness, your social cohesion, your temperament, your what I can say is that how you can regulate your emotions, your adaptable nature, your flexibility, your tolerance level, your perseverance level, all these will help you to have that balance. So 5 things are there which you cannot change. Mind it, life is not always fair, and people are not loving and loyal all the time. Don't lose your heart. Don't get shattered. Don't get distressed by completely believing on some person, because people will not be loyal all the time. Okay. Things do not always go according to your plan. Pain is part of life. Okay. And everything changes and ends. COVID came and COVID went. We are back after 2 years. What all miserable situations we had during COVID time. Flood came, gone. Okay. Earthquakes were there. Landslides were there. So there might be some difficult, long-lasting, miserable situations in your life that you might have. What I can say, somebody who is very close to you, you are very close to your life might have passed away. So that is some gap which cannot be filled in a very what I can say is the stipulated time, isn't it? It may take time for you to come back, but everything will fall into its own place. Okay, don't worry. Okay, so you have to focus on the things which is under your control. What people do is that you will be channelizing your energy on the things which is not at all under your control. And then you will lose your heart, you will use your energy, you will get frustrated, and at the end what will happen, you will get depression. After all these anxieties and all, depression is through a process. After a process we get into depression, right? After anxiety, after fear, after having long, all this happens because of a thought process. We alone are the reason for all the things which is happening, but we may not be able to control our thoughts ourselves. We need, sometimes we may need professional help. See, my situation itself, the thing, what was out of control, the child, the God has given me a child, isn't it? That is not in my control. How easy. That is what something I got. Under my control is how I can develop his life skill. How can I enhance his self-efficiency in all the areas? How can I train him to live in a world where I am not there? All these things are under my control. I can work on it to an optimal level, to an extent I can develop all those skills of my boy, right? So like that, you have to work on the situations which is under your control. Forget which is out of your control. So I would like to end up the session that resiliency is nothing but the positive self-confidence and self-esteem what you all have. So you will be having all these through the traits of what? The social cohesion, integrity, trustworthy nature, the empathy what you have. Through all these things, we will be having that sort of, we will be having resilience, isn't it? So I would like to end up the session with the prayer of Maria Montessori. I used to end almost all the session with this. Help us, O God, to enter into the secret of childhood so that we may know, love, and serve the child in accordance with the laws of thy justice and following thy holy will. That's what I told, that poke your nose, intrude into the life of the child, not for any sort of gossiping. Oh, he is having that, not for that, but for helping your child to develop holistically. Thank you so much. And now there is a question for you all. You have to put in the chat box, how can you understand a resilient child? Or you can tell one quality of a resilient child. One quality of a resilient child. Pleasant, good. No, resilient child. I'm asking resilient child, not the child who's having stress. Pleasant, observation, confidence, courage, compassion. Then a resilient child will like to interact with others. Whereas a child who's having stress, they mix with others. Social cohesion will be lesser compared to the other child. Okay. Managing the emotion, confidence, self-productive, positive attitude, extrovert, helpful and concerned, good. And most important thing, they may be looking to your eyes and they will be talking. Okay. Whereas others' posture itself will be different. Posture itself of a child who's having stress will be different. They might be, their heads may be down. There may be shaking, their hands may be shaking. The lack of confidence, you can see, palpitations will be there for children. Okay, so analyze all those things. And for some children, the eyes will be red. Blinking, the eyes will be there. So, yeah, open-mindedness. Thank you so much. So now it's said, if you want to ask, we can have some interaction if you are interested. The session is over. Can I see some faces? And can I hear some voices? Can I
I
hear
think
some
everyone is
takeaways?
busy.
Everyone is busy.
Now the time is 8:45. After the hectic day schedule,
Amritpal is
they are
telling, ma'am, actually,
they,
I am a student. A student had participated. And after this, did you understand what are the qualities needed for a resilient child?
Yes, ma'am, a lot. Thank you so much.
Okay. I was asking, somebody had put in the chat box that he is a student, madam. He is a student and he's attending the class.
no, the subject topic is like that. No.
Ah, okay, okay. And I think my voice was okay because in between I had some
Yes, yes, yes.
issue.
Okay. Anyway, we can sum up, ma'am. You are
Okay,
also taught your voices.
okay. So thank you so much.
So,
Okay.
good evening, everyone. We received the very positive feedback from your end. Yes, absolutely correct. We all are students. Every day we are learning one or another way. Absolutely correct. That statement. So, my concluding note also like that. We all are students. Every day we are learning, and today we received some inputs or some lights regarding the how to handling problem solving tasks and all from our beloved resource person, Srimati Binu K. Dash. On behalf of Central Sahodaya Conclave Kottayam and Council of CBC Schools of Kerala and all the participants assembled over here, let me thank you, ma'am. It was a more informative and wonderful one, as usual.
Thank you so much, Ranjit sir, and thank you to the entire team because the chat box was also always active. But today I found some difficulty when I was moving the slide. It was getting little stuck somewhere, so I was not able to go through all the chats what was there. But anyway, I could see the chat boxes having lots of inputs. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ranjit sir, and the entire crew of Sahodaya, CBSE, Bharat Sahodaya.
Central
Kottayam Sahodaya.
Sahodaya.
Central Sahodaya. Central
We are in
Sahodaya.
all. So,
Yeah. Central Sahodaya for having me here. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye.
on
Good
behalf
night.
of Central Sahodaya Conclave, we are sincere thanks to the technical team Insight E also for providing the platform for the online webinars. And sincere thanks to all the team leaders, mentors behind the team of Central Sahodaya Conclave Kottayam. Okay, thank you all. We are officially concluding the session as we know that we are running late. And thank you for all the good words, all the positive feedbacks. It's
Thank
really
you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. Because I think the initial phase I was not able to cope up because of a little bit of my sound wheezing issue. I was having that, so I was not able to cope up. But I think in the then